I suck at focusing. I get distracted by my phone, mismanage my time, and I struggle to meet deadlines. And I'm not the only one. With over 50% of adults saying their attention spans are slowly getting worse, and diagnosed cases of ADHD doubling over the last 20 years. It seems more and more of us are losing the battle to control our attention. And I want to figure out why. To find out, I'm going to be speaking with a leading expert in focus and ADHD, combing through dozens of research papers, and taking an official ADHD assessment test in hopes of finally figuring out why exactly I can't focus.
So hearing my quote-unquote impression.
Number one problem in my life is being able to work for myself, be disciplined, be focused in my own work, and This is me about a year ago after one of my numerous unfocused work days. Maybe I'm just like not the person that I thought I was, maybe this is just like it, you know, and that is scary. And after I shared this clip, there was one comment that kept popping up. And with so many people reaching out drawing the exact same conclusion, I didn't believe them. For context, I was always a good student. I had no problem studying for a test or writing a paper. I wasn't that overly hyper kid who was constantly running around and getting into trouble. So ADHD couldn't be me. Instead, I spent the last year adopting every focus improving strategy I could find. I listened to the Andrew Huberman podcast. I worked with my phone out of the room and blocked social media off of my desktop. And even still, my attention wanders. And all of this leads me to wonder, why? Why am I worse at focusing as an adult than when I was in high school? Is it just me? Am I getting worse? Or has it somehow gotten a lot harder to focus today versus when I was growing up? And whatever the answer is, I need to find a way to deal with it. To figure out how bad my focus problems really are, I'm gonna log a time journal. This will allow me to track every hour I work and to figure out how much time I actually spend focused compared to the times when I'm, well, not. I'm also going to include what specific things were distracting me and pulling me off task, which for me seems to be happening far more than it should.
If you look at Google Trends of people Googling ADHD, there was a gigantic spike in about 2020. And it's a really interesting question. Is it something about the modern world that is creating attention problems in a lot of people?
This is Dr. Margaret Sibley, a clinical psychologist and an associate professor at the University of Washington. I reached out to see if she had any insight on why me and so many others are struggling to focus.
If you're training your brain to essentially expect the dopamine snack all the time, it's going to be kind of expecting that. And some people will describe the process of withdrawing yourself from technology, that they actually feel something like a symptom of withdrawal, like a mental restlessness, and that is a symptom of ADHD. So therein the confusion lies.
But even with my strict limits on technology, when I tallied up my week of attention tracking, what I found wasn't great. It turns out I am spending 50% of my days actually focused. Half of the time I am focused. That means for the other half, I am pacing around my house, I'm making a snack, I'm letting my mind wander, and 50% was my best day. There was one day where I was focused for only 30% of the time, and that's with my phone being out of the room, with social media being blocked, and it just makes me feel like the problem has to be me.
If you have ADHD or some of the symptoms, you just feel like, oh, I'm just not that good at staying organized, you know? It just feels like character flaws.
This is my friend Alistair. He reached out after I posted an invitation on Instagram to see if anyone I knew had been formally diagnosed with ADHD as an adult and would be open to sharing a bit about it. And while I was expecting to get maybe 2 or 3 responses, instead I got over 30.
I was diagnosed in 2018.
October, I think, of last year.
Late last year.
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
What were some of the symptoms that you were noticing that made you seek out an assessment?
I'm so forgetful. If it's not in my calendar,
I am gonna forget about it.
I'll get distracted really easily.
Even if I'm talking, like, I have a hard time staying focused.
I can like keep up a conversation without listening at all, which is really weird. Like, it's
my brain doesn't shut off.
My brain is just going.
My partner at the time was like, you need to go to the doctor. Like, it's an issue.
And despite my initial assumptions, there seem to be an endless number of ways ADHD can impact your life. And some of these symptoms definitely hit home for me.
You end up spending a lot of time on stuff that you don't really care about just because it feels like a quicker dopamine hit.
I just could not sit there and get anything done.
when you focus a lot. And when you don't focus, it's more like an all or nothing.
And I could not tell the difference between what was just life stuff and what was actually something that could be diagnosed.
There was just one doubt that I had left.
Just out of curiosity, how was school for you growing up?
School was not an issue for me.
Kind of like bees.
I was like always top of the class.
I did well in school.
Like, you can definitely be a good student and then still have ADHD, that's for sure.
So I am realizing that there is a decent chance that I could have ADHD. So I booked an assessment a week from today, 90 minutes with a psychiatrist who specializes in ADHD. And as soon as I did, I just immediately felt nervous. I guess just in my professional life and my inability to focus, my inability to work efficiently and just like live up to what I think is my potential, this just feels like such an important moment in trying to resolve that. And yeah, you could probably just hear it in my voice. I'm just nervous. And I really hope that this is helpful. I really hope that I can get some answers from this. I'm so sorry to have to interrupt the video, but I need to thank the people that helped fund this video and make it even possible, and that is the sponsor of this video, Inside Tracker. With this video, I'm hoping to find as much information as I can about my mind, how it works, how it's functioning, and if you want to do the same thing but with your body's overall health, then you should definitely check out Inside Tracker. Through one single blood test, Inside Tracker is able to provide you with a complete breakdown of your body's overall health and longevity. This includes 48 biomarkers that break down across 10 pillars of your overall health. But what's really great about Inside Tracker is that not only does it give you the full snapshot of your overall health, but Inside Tracker will also provide detailed and personalized insights into habits and nutrition changes that you can make to improve any areas where you maybe are underperforming. So if you would like to give Inside Tracker a try for yourself, you can use our code GOALGUYS20 to get 20% off your purchase. They'll provide you with a complete breakdown of your overall health and personalized recommendations to help you live longer and train smarter. So again, the link is in our description. Use the code GOALGUYS20, 20% off. Now, back to my test.
So we'll just go ahead and start with the assessment. It's going to include a series of questions related to mental health, past medical history, questions about your early...
So if I'm diagnosing ADHD in an adult, basically what we do is detective work, and we gather all this information and we really are focused on timeline and what's happening when symptoms are there and what's happening when symptoms are not there. And we look for patterns.
Before age 12, personality-wise, how would you describe yourself?
An ADHD assessment can be broken down into two categories: inattention and hyperactivity impulsivity, with each category having 9 symptoms. In order to be medically diagnosed, adults need to adequately display 5 out of 9 symptoms in either category.
And what we're doing is not only asking, is this symptom present, but going a deep dive on that symptom. What context do you experience it in? What are the ways it gets in the way of your life? And we would go through all the symptoms of ADHD and do that deep dive with people.
So for the next 2 hours, I was asked a series of questions covering numerous areas of my life to see if I met the criteria for ADHD.
there are some people with really high scores and some people with sort of medium and some people with lower. And we're really just trying to draw the line that the person's symptoms, as we would call them, are severe enough that they warrant medical intervention.
So here is my clinical impression. When it comes to inattention and hyperactivity and impulsivity, you're at the 3 out of the 9 on both of them. So not meeting the criteria for ADHD.
So I guess now the question is, well, what's wrong with me? You know, if it's not ADHD, then like, what's my issue? There's part of me that almost like wanted ADHD. I wanted it to give a reason to why I have trouble giving attention to my work and why I procrastinate and why I do these things that I hate about myself. And it just does it. Like, it's just like there's no excuse in a way. It just kind of points the finger back at me and be like, bro, you got to figure that out. Yeah, it just feels like I'm at like a dead end or something, you know? Without a diagnosable answer to my focus problems, I was left to pretty much start my search over again. This time, sifting through some research to see if there was anything that could explain why my focus is getting worse. And what I found was the exact opposite of what I was expecting. I just found something that I truly cannot comprehend. So here it is. Is there a Flynn effect for attention? This is a meta-analysis of 31 years of collected studies. And what it finds, our analysis yielded a small significant positive effect of data collection year on blah, 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 indicating a meaningful increase in concentration performance between 2000 and 2021. 31 years of data is showing that our attention spans are improving. How is that even possible? So if everything is telling me that I actually have the ability to focus, then why do I feel like I can't? So I kept reading through studies on technology, multitasking, and concentration time until things slowly started to make a little sense. So the best that I can figure out is that we have so many distractions today that make it feel like we can't focus. But in the studies where people were put in distraction-free environments and asked to focus, that ability to stay on task has only gotten better. So we haven't lost our ability to focus. The challenge I need to figure out is how to create a system that will allow me to focus in the way that I'm capable of. So I started combing back through my time journal, looking for any consistent problems or patterns that might have been leading me to get distracted. So I just went back through all of the ways that I lost focus, and there are definitely some patterns here. Like blatant clues as to what has been going wrong when I've been struggling to focus. Now that is not to say that I have a solution for these things or there's a clear fix, but it feels like I have a good start. A good start to try and finally fix my focus. After going back through my journal, I zeroed in on 3 major pitfalls for my focus. Number 1, trying to do too much mentally demanding work until I feel exhausted and start seeking distractions. Number 2 was not having a plan for my work days. So as soon as I finish one task, I don't know what to do next and completely lose my focus. And the third point I found was simply getting bored.
I do think people can self-help really well, and figuring out what environments you are most successful in and helping you sort of figure out like how to craft your own life in a way that sets you up to succeed.
So to build a system that addresses these 3 problems, I'm going to start setting up better work routines that alternate between mentally challenging tasks and easy ones. I'm also going to start planning out my days the night before with a checklist, so there is no confusion and I can always see what's on my to-do list for each day. And to confront my boredom, I'm structuring in more breaks to go outside and strategically planning in some mindless work that will allow me to listen to music or a podcast during it. All of these steps helped me to create a more structured workday, almost like the ones that I did well with when I was growing up in school. And as I started to implement routines and structures that play to my strengths, my ability to focus actually started to improve. Today's progress so far, first block was 80%, second was 70%. 2 easy tasks after lunch though, both came in at 100%. I got everything I wanted to done and even more. Dude, let's friggin' go. And all of this work is actually very similar to the steps my friends with ADHD have had to take to better manage their diagnosis.
Rhythm and structure helped me so much when it comes to focus.
And routine, I think, especially with like exercise built in, is huge.
So in terms of like tasks I need to do, to-do list, everything needs to be like super visual right in front of me.
I have a laminated list that has like check boxes just so I can remove the mental load.
Instead of working against my ADHD, I'm going to work with it. And part of that has been choosing a profession where I'm never bored, I'm always multitasking, and in turn maximize what my brain can do and the benefit it can bring me.
I'm realizing that there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to focusing, and there's also not one single culprit that I could pinpoint my problems to. There are so many things that can vie for our attention and get in the way of being able to focus, and that's going to be unique to each individual. So instead of trying to find some sort of fix-all solution, the most beneficial thing I've found is analyzing my focus patterns and figuring out what it is that I need to be able to focus. It's given me a better understanding of how I work so that I can play to my strengths and do my best to try and avoid my weaknesses. And most of all, I think it's important to remember that we don't need to focus every second of every day. You don't need to be locked in all the time. The goal is to be able to modulate your focus so that when you need it, you can get it. And when you don't need to focus, take a break. Come back to it later, which I'm gonna do right now. Whoops, I left my keys in the car. Okay, bye, thanks for watching.